Morning, everyone. Welcome to Unity Radiant Light. I'm Reverend Cherie Ruffo, and I'm so thrilled to be here today to continue the series that we started last week, The Soul of Money. And today I'll be talking about the truth of scarcity. And this is from author Lynn Twist. We talked about her background with prosperity and how she really came upon the teachings and started considering the teachings on the soul of money last week. If you'd like to get her book and follow along with the series, feel free to do it. It's a wonderful book, and she goes into great depth on these principles that we're learning. So today, as we continue with the series, we're going to talk about the truth about scarcity, because like most of us grew up with different ideas of scarcity, but there's some things in society that are kind of based around it that also give us a common theme with the idea of scarcity. We know there's places in the world and even in our own country where the conversations, thoughts, feelings are dominated by lack of food, homes, jobs, medication, healthcare. And there's people that are living a life of survival. But what might also surprise you is on the other side of it, when we talk about scarcity, there's the same conversation, maybe not in the depth about not having a home, or it might be different kinds of lack they're feeling. It might be a lack of a second home or car or whatever's happening. But these are people that have a lot, but they're still having the same thoughts and same feelings about scarcity. But when we look at them by every measure, we say, wow, they have everything they need. But at the same time, they'd be having thoughts of what happens if the stock market fails, or what happens if I don't keep my job, or what if they're feeling the same thoughts of scarcity. So their life is filled with that when you would think it was filled with prosperity. And we have, and we're going to talk about that. There's 3 toxic myths about scarcity that we're going to go into depth with today. That some of us, and I found even this week, as I'll talk to you about later, that I have it on a level that I, all of a sudden crept in when I was least expecting it. So we'll be talking about that, because we've been trained in a society that focus on scarcity instead of abundance. And we see it happening in our own elections, because, one of the best ways to get people to follow you or vote for you is to say, hey, it's to go for the basic needs where people might feel scarcity. And know that, hey, if I'm elected, I'm going to take care of this for you. So what do we mean by this? So what if we say, okay, Cherie, well, I don't feel scarce. In my life, I'm pretty comfortable. So I don't think I have any scarcity. And I sat there and I did the same thing. And I thought about what area of my life, where am I feeling scarce, and how is it happening? And we can ask, ourselves. I caught myself really quickly on saying, I'm tired today when I woke up. I just got out of bed, right? Because I have strange sleeping habits. A lot of times I may be up between, 3 and 5 in the morning. I know several other people who have the same thing. And then I go back to sleep. And then the alarm goes off at 6 a.m. You may say, wow, she gets up for work at 6 a.m. and it has an alarm. No, my alarm is my 2 sheepdogs who think that everybody needs to be up at 6 a.m. in my household. So they get us up. But sometimes when I sit up, I catch myself thinking, I'm so tired. So I've already gone into scarcity. And some days I even wake up and I say, wow, I didn't get enough sleep last night. And I check my Fitbit because it tells me how much sleep I had. I didn't get enough sleep last night. So how am I going to get through today? How am I going to do the things that I need to do? I know that a lot of us have had that thought. It may not be about sleep. It might be about something else in our lives. So how do we change this? This is what we're going to talk about today. First, most important thing is we recognize where we have thoughts of scarcity. Maybe, how's my car going to get me to work today? Or how am I going to fill up the gas tank? Or all these things that might creep in. So what happens in a society that's it's based on scarcity? It's the what if I don't have enough syndrome. And we think about that. I don't have enough time. Anybody ever had that one? I don't have enough time to exercise. That's been my excuse for the last 3 days when I probably could have squeezed it in. There's not enough work to support me. my family, or what I have to do. My paycheck isn't big enough to provide for my needs. My political party doesn't have enough power to win the election or to dominate or to win. It's all about win lose, right? So the author, Lynn Twist, she tells us that this is the not enough wilderness that we've fallen into. I'm not thin enough. I'm not educated enough. Not pretty enough. Not young enough. Not rich enough. Not whatever it is for you. And so our day begins already in lack. And then what happens in the middle of our day? Do we have more thoughts of lack? I'm not good enough. I'm not doing a good enough job today. I'm not, whatever that is, or, I'm not exercising, so I'm definitely not going to be thin enough. And then how do we end our day? We start thinking about that. How am I ending my day? How do I go to sleep at night? Do I do it with prayers of gratitude? Or do I do it with more, I didn't get enough done today. I need to get so much more done. And then we go to sleep on that. So what's the first thing we think of when we wake up? If we sleep through the night, right? So we have to change our mindset on this. We have to start thinking about, become really conscious about where our mindset is, because this is just a normal part of our society. And I found myself doing this this week too. I had a really great week. Last week I was down in Washington, D.C. for congressional visits and went to a conference, and really, really exciting things were happening. So my week this week was I needed to reach out to all the people I talked to, especially the senator that took the time out to meet, get the thank you note out to him, and then have a newsletter that I need to get out. I have all these new contacts. I have to make sure that they're in. I need to write the newsletter articles, and I was going through my whole list. And then I went into a funding possibilities, opportunities site that I have. And I have it keyed to identify any kind of funding opportunities. And I saw there was one there last week. There's 6 this week. And they're amazing. And they're for a few $100,000 up to, there's one that is even for $1 million. So you'd think that I probably would have moved right to gratitude, right? And excitement. And I caught myself. Going back to the framework that I'm most used to is, oh my gosh, I don't have enough time to do all this. Has anybody else ever done that? But then because I'm working on this series, I was able to identify it very quickly and put it in the talk. It worked well for it. So this happens everywhere. This is kind of how we're geared. And it doesn't just happen in the United States. It happens anywhere from Calcutta, which has a lot of poverty, to Beverly Hills, which we know a lot of people are very wealthy there. We're just used to doing this. That scarcity is the common underlying assumption in our world. And scarcity doesn't even have to present itself in someone's life materially, just the thought of it having to bring it in. And what happens is, what do we know from the unity principles and all the teachings that we study and all the masters that we study from? Is that what we think about comes about, where we're putting our energy. So I started thinking about, where this began and who has really been addressing it. And I loved what Paul Zader said. There's a natural law of abundance which pervades the entire universe, but it will not flow through a doorway of belief in lack and limitation. Think about that. So we're learning all of these really wonderful principles, and we're working within, prosperity, the concepts. But we have to think about, where are we starting from? Are we starting from sufficiency, which we talked about a little bit last week, we'll go in depth next week? Or are we coming in from a belief in lack and limitation? So that's a really important, really, really important thought for this. So where did our country start? We're going to go back. We're going to talk about that. So I went to one of my favorite ministers, Reverend Linda Martello Whitsitt, amazing author, minister, unity minister, and she talks about prayer with wholeness in mind is asserting mental order into a chaotic consciousness. So we know our unity principles, our 4th unity principle is through prayer and meditation, we can accomplish the things that we need to, and see how important it is, because that prayer, not starting from scarcity, but starting from wholeness in our minds, is putting the mental order. We know the power of order is one of the 12 powers into this chaotic consciousness of scarcity that we have. So we see already that we can work with this. So this is the process of manifestation. This is the process that we move into with the manifestation. And unity also has a trinity. And we start from, the Trinity, I grew up with it. And also one of our trinities is Father, Son, Holy Spirit. And unities is mind, which is with a capital M, which is the great I am, our mind, place of wholeness, idea, which is where we move into the soul work that we bring into here. What's the idea that we have? An expression. And through that idea, we bring it into expression in our lives. Now, it's an amazing concept because we can produce and manifest through this. But if we start with the idea that we're in mind, that we're coming from scarcity, that would be a little m for mind, scarcity, it's still a natural law. So we could be bringing scarcity into our lives. So we know that we have to change our thoughts, our feelings. And with that will come changed actions, and we'll see a difference. So through the lens of this is our expectations, our behavior. And we have a choice once we understand it, once we're aware of it, to bring it into our lives in a conscious, healthy way. And some people would say, well, this is really a downer, Cherie, because now I have to really watch everything I think about, everything that you're saying it comes about. We have to watch where energy goes. We have to know what our belief systems is, because remember, 85 to 90% of all of our thoughts is sitting in our subconscious, and that's based on our experiences and our beliefs. We bring the rest into the conscious world, and that's where we make the changes. But what we're talking about with the mind, idea expression, and the mind with the big M, which is our great I am, is even asserting and bringing in the layer of the super consciousness. It knows the truth of the wholeness that we are. And if you're a little confused about all of that, Joe has wonderful classes on all of this where he explains it in great detail. So this internal condition of scarcity, this mindset of scarcity, it lives at the heart of jealousies, any greed that we have, our prejudices that we might have, arguments with life. So when we just start to understand that, we can start to pull back the layers on this and open it up to the truth. And unfortunately, it's deeply embedded in our relationship with money. So because of this, especially society's belief on this, we don't have a healthy relationship with money. And doesn't mean it's permanent, because we know that we can change this. So we have to stop looking outside of ourselves for fulfillment and stop listening to the messages, advertising, news, wherever it's coming in about scarcity. It might be the people that we love in our lives because they're just used to it. So if we can start tuning that out and tuning into the wholeness that we are, our lives will shift, and it'll shift immediately. When we look back to the beginning of our country, one of our philosophers, Adam Smith, 200 years ago, he said the natural effort of every individual is to better his own condition is so powerful that it is alone and without any assistance capable not only of carrying on the society to wealth and prosperity, but of surmounting 100 impertinent obstructions with which the folly of human laws too often encumbers its operations. Well, first, that kind of sounds good, right? Well, it didn't work, because unfortunately, the problem with this belief, and it came out with the free markets, and it's a great system, but it didn't start with equality. It didn't start there. We had problems we had people that were discriminated against. We had slavery then. The belief was, okay, this is something that's happening. So we didn't believe it was based on white men. And I'm not putting anybody down or any part of society down. It's just what happened. So we have to recognize what we said in our Constitution. Really now today, we're taking that and we're talking about it a lot. It's that all people are created equal. And Nobody's excluded in that. So when we do that and we start to have that conversation, we start to release these beliefs that sounded okay back then because that's all they knew about scarcity. And some people believe that it's our scarcity is just part of our nature, and it's not. We are destined, we inherited. Our inheritance is prosperity. So one of interesting people who has really looked at this is Barnard Viator. He worked for the Belgian central bank. He's thought a lot about. He's worked with the chief architects surrounding money, economists, and he said greed and competition are not the result of immutable human temperament. Greed and fear of scarcity are in fact being created and amplified. The direct consequence is that we have to fight with each other in order to survive. So he recognizes that the belief that we have in all of these systems, governments, countries, everywhere, is that brought us into this survival state. And survival state can only come about when there's scarcity. So we built a money system in which we swim, and we've been swimming it so long that these truths and shadows, we don't even recognize them anymore. So he concludes that Adam Smith's system of economics could more accurately be described as allocation of scarce resources through the process of individual greed. So having the economists having these conversations now, and really, really looking at these, shows that it's not that anybody was bad or created something that was bad. It's we have time for us to grow. We have to move beyond these thoughts. So, today we know in society, if you've seen the global pyramid of wealth, and I'm not putting down the top, 1%, but 1.1% has the majority of wealth in the world. And it goes down to the next part, which they call the middle class, and then down to people who don't have anything. So because of the old belief systems, our global scale and wealth has been really skewed. So there's a lot of people going without. So how do we change this? How do we change the belief that we don't have enough? There's not enough in the world to have a satisfying, happy, productive, or even a survivable life. We have to begin to think differently. And when we do this, we start to think differently, then we change our lives, and we know that we're part of a collective, and that collective starts to change. And we don't have to go out and topple governments or anything like that. We just have to start with changing our own belief systems and replacing some of our, what Lynn Twist, the author, calls toxic myths about money, toxic myths about our relationship with money. So how do we do this? We know that Lynn identified 3 toxic myths. The toxic myth number 1 is there's not enough. And this is one that we see used politically. We've seen it used with people justifying, doing things that aren't really, they may be legal under our system, and they're legal because there's not, the belief is there's not enough. But it's this underlying fear that we don't have enough, and that maybe the people that we love don't have enough, and that we have to make sure that everybody gets enough. A lot of people, and I hear it from people, I've heard it over the years because I've been in fundraising for so long, is I can't give anything to anyone until I know that I have more than I need. I just don't have enough now, but I will. And there's not enough fear generates the fear that drives us to make sure that we will do whatever we have to have enough. Our loved ones, as we watch people get crushed, marginalized, societies are built on that. Corporations have been built on that. So people are left out. So once we define our world as deficient, then the total of our energy, everything goes into survival. And everybody's trying to have enough. And in our own families, that might drive us enough to buy more than we need. Remember back, I'll talk a little bit about toilet paper a little more, but remember in the pandemic, the whole shortage of toilet paper. And we have some people that probably have enough toilet paper to last them to 2050 because they have fear of running out. So we're basing everything on this fear rather than the character of the people and looking around in the world and seeing what is enough. The other toxic myth is more is better. With more is better is we need more of this. We need more of that. We have to buy more, accumulate more. More is better. It drives a competitive culture of accumulation, acquisition, and greed. It only heightens the fears around what we already have. And we jump into a race because more is better. That car is better. The house is better. And I'm not, and if you want to have a new car, a new house, I'm not saying that your belief is this. I know, absolutely not. But in advertising, that's the thing that pushes us is more is better. The next dress, the next car, the next job, the next vacation, the next home improvement. There's always something that's next to make life better. What happens is because we're always in this rush to accumulate more because we want to keep up with the neighbors, right? Or whatever it is, we don't stop. We're not mindful about what we already have. We don't take the time to really appreciate the things that we've been given, the gifts that we have, the people in our lives, the love that we get to share, the animals. My husband would say I probably fell into this because we have 4 dogs now. Was it more, is it better, or it just happened? So we have to take that moment when we get something, we achieve a goal, whatever it is for you, be mindful in that moment, appreciate it. And we're going to talk about that, how appreciation will bring more into our lives more quickly than a toxic myth like more is better. So we want to be able to live mindfully. We want to live peacefully, because if we're always striving for more is better, are we at peace in our lives? I have a friend right now who's seen some really dark days. I remember a time when she was trying to find enough change in her house, in her apartment, to buy a package of toilet paper. We were just talking about the toilet paper, and this was way before the pandemic, so the prices hadn't gone up. She was just in a place where she was having she was having trouble financially. And today, fast forward, this was around 2010, fast forward to 2023, 13 years later, she's inherited a couple $1,000,000. So you say, wow, she doesn't have to worry about that anymore. And she and I had a conversation recently that her fears haven't really changed. It's not about toilet paper. What if the stock market doesn't do well where her money's invested? What if the real estate market starts to fall? What if what if this doesn't hold out? What if she doesn't get her business back up into a place where it can support this, and she runs out of the money that she's inherited? And she's always thinking about the what ifs. What if I lose this? Or what if I don't get that? Or and then thinking about when she moves out of that, she starts thinking about, well, yeah, I have a house in Palm Springs, but wouldn't want a Malibu be better? And we've had a lot of conversations about becoming mindful and appreciative and moving into gratitude for what she has. If she can let go of those worries, she's going to be much happier in her life. But it's the way we've been trained. It's the way society is. So naturally, just because she's moved from a place where she was actually living in poverty to now where she's living in abundance, she has to change that mindset, let it catch up. So what is it? What is it? How are we living our lives? Are we enjoying it? Are we saying more is better? Are we living from a mindful place? Or are we focused constantly on the next thing, the next dress? Are we taking time out when we're eating to enjoy and savor the food that we're eating? Or are we shoveling it in so we can get on to the next thing and we're not being mindful about it? What is that thing that you need to do? What is it, that goal? To slow down, to move into appreciation, to move away from scarcity. Where is it in your life? And maybe it's not. Maybe you've been able to overcome all of these thoughts. And really, that's wonderful if you have. I know I'm still catching myself in it. I'm still having that human experience. And I need to be more mindful and more conscious of what my thoughts and feelings are. So the beliefs that we possess that are, as a person, as a company, or a nation, is going to be the driving force of where we go in the future. Are we going to be able to move from violence and war to corruption, exploitation on earth? Or are we going to be able to move forward? Or are we going to stay caught in that? So these are the things to think about this week. And you don't have to go out and change a nation's mind or do anything. You can if you like, but you start with yourself. Start with what your beliefs are. And our third toxic myth is it's just the way it is. And Lynn Twist, the author, says that this is probably the worst one that she sees because she works with world hunger. And it's where people get into a place where like, this is just the way it is. There's nothing I can do about it. There's no way out of this. There's no way out for the people that are caught in it. There's nothing I can do to change it. This is the way the world works. People who have more are always people other than us, not us. We can't make a difference. It's not fair, but we better play the game because it's just the way it is. So the world has a lot of hopelessness, helpless, unequal, unfair world. But we can make a case for this because if we're looking at where our beliefs are, it's not going to be just the way it is when we change those beliefs. It will shift everything. So this trance or this blindness or numbness that we've been in, where we know that a lot of people die every day from starvation, all these things are happening in the world, or the environment's being damaged. We can change it by starting at home. We can change those beliefs. And I know, for instance, in the United States, we have 4% of the world's population. We have 25% of the world's pollution. And it's contributing to global warming, but also other damages. People are experiencing damage on the islands in the Pacific because of the pollution that we're creating here. And it's not okay. We can do better than this. It's not okay for say it's just the way it is. And we know the Paris Climate Agreement. There are a lot of people that felt like, well, we shouldn't be putting so much into it because we're only 4% of the population in the world. I look at it from the other perspective. We're 25% of the pollution. So we should put a lot into it. We should change the way that we're doing things because it's not just the way it is. Our actions will change that. If we declare ourselves that we can change things, we'll do it. But if we stay resigned to this is just the way it is, this is how the world works, then we abandon the human potential that we have. And we know that our inheritance is nothing but a potential. We can accomplish anything. We have the inner power because we've made in the image and likeness of our Creator to change anything. So this myth, it's just the way it is, isn't true at all. We can change this world into a thriving, equitable, healthy world. And we can do it together. And any culture that does this, then and lets go of their old lessons, which we've been seeing happen, and hasn't always been painless. There's been a lot of pain that's come along with looking at some of these truths. We change the entire direction that we're going in. And when we do that, other countries follow. Other countries are already there ahead of us. It becomes a world that's full of potential for everyone. So instead of coming from a place of scarcity, let's come from a place of sufficiency, moving into abundance. And let's just do this. Start with ourselves, start at home. Start by looking at what our thoughts and feelings are about things. What might be our beliefs? And that will change the world, and it will change the world faster than anything we can possibly imagine. I'm so glad to be on this journey with you. I love what I brought up, what Mr. Spock used to say, live long and prosper. And anybody that can do that with their fingers is great. You'll have to show me during fellowship because I can't. But I also love what St. Ignatius said. Go forth and set the world on fire. Allow yourselves to be conscious beings, full of opportunities, full of abilities. Be who you are. Let your authentic self go forward and set the world on fire in a good way. So I look forward to continuing this journey with you. Namaskar. And after the lesson today, we're learning, we want to say our meditation affirmation. We're going to go into meditation to let go, to release some of these unconscious thoughts or now conscious thoughts, and embrace who and what we are, open ourselves up to all the potential that we have. So I am open and receptive to the spirit of truth, healing in me what needs to be healed, and revealing to me what needs to be revealed. I just invite you to close your outer eyes if you haven't, and take a nice deep breath in all the way down, filling your lungs, the abundance of breath that we have. Breath is life. And when we release, just release any angst, maybe anything that was stirred up during the talk, or unconscious thoughts that might be becoming conscious now. Just release that. As we take another breath in, and you say, I am. And we release it with God is. God is full. That's our potential. Potential of everything we can accomplish. So God is. I am. Inviting that super conscious overlay to overlay all conscious, unconscious beliefs, helping us to become aware of who and what we are. As we move a little deeper, we do so with the awareness. Maybe we're starting to have conscious ideas of what our beliefs are. Whatever it is, if our belief is not enough time, not enough sleep, not enough money, not enough jobs, whatever that is, I just invite you as you breathe in to allow it to move up and out. As we breathe in again, we breathe in all potential that we've always had. We open ourselves up to prosperity in every area. And we are full, feeling that hope of glory that we talk about in unity. Knowing that by releasing these old thoughts and beliefs, our lives will change. Allowing us to receive, allowing the world to receive the blessings, the abundance, the love. As we let go of our belief in lack. We let go of the idea that maybe someone has a different idea, political, sports, whatever it is wrong. Diversity of ideas is rich and wonderful. Makes things interesting, especially the holidays. Allowing ourselves to just let go of some of some of these beliefs we've had. And as we've now releasing them, I invite you to go into the silence and just sit in the silence, in the mindfulness of this idea. Releasing what no longer serves us. Now that we've released what no longer serves us, we are receiving new ideas, new potential. Just to take some time to allow them to percolate and settle. Even if it's not today, it's coming, it's here. That comes with the release. So as we take all of these things that we're learning, we come from a place of wholeness. We are already whole and complete. So anybody that is praying for health, we see you with every cell in your body working in perfect and wholeness. Issues with prosperity, we know and we hold for you that you are prosperous in every area of your life because we already see you as whole. And as these ideas, old ideas that don't serve us, leave, we feel and we see that inner joy rising, which brings you peace, the peace that you're meant to have. And we understand that this field that we come from is love. No matter what the appearance is, we can never be anything but love. That is the truth of what and who we are. And for that, we are so grateful. So grateful for Jesus, our way shower, to bring these ideas, help us to learn by his example and his teachings. And all the Fillmores who founded Unity and all of the great teachers, guides, and masters. We say thank you. We hold this and know that we are stepping onto this path. We're on this path of ascension, higher thoughts, and higher ethics, and a higher way to live in our societies. And for this, we are so grateful. And so it is.